Fense Post.
Welcome to another edition of the Fense Post, a very special edition. My name is Jason Fenstermaker, along with my co-host,
Matt Nevels.
We have a very special guest with us, Superintendent of Grain Valley Schools, Dr. Brad Welle. Dr. Welle, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm real good. It's glad to be here with you guys today.
Yeah, we're glad you could.
You know, I know a superintendent's job never ends. You're 365 days a year. You got to make decisions on all that stuff. But we have something kind of important coming up for our community. April
4th.
April 4th. If you didn't know, April 4th is Election Day. We have a lot of special elections here at at Grain Valley with aldermen and all that. But probably a very important one that's near and dear to all three of our hearts is the bond issue.
Yeah, we have a big bond issue planned. And we do this, we put this forward to voters so that we can take on big construction projects. Okay,
and obviously no school is really not built without bonding, and some people might not. Now, if you didn't know, I actually have some advanced financing classes.
I thought you were going to say administrative background.
Well, I do have an administrative background, and I was close to getting my superintendency license, certificate, license, degree, something about that. And I took some of that. So I know a little bit about bonding, but just for our more common folk like Mr. Nevels.
Right.
What is bonding?
Explain it in layman's terms.
Yeah, basically when we go to the community and ask their permission on this bond issue, when they vote yes, what they're doing is they're giving us permission to borrow the money in order to build whatever the project is. So issuing bonds is the way that schools and municipalities borrow money in order to build projects.
Finance projects.
And the thing is, we can only use that money to make for new construction and to do capital improvements. We can't use it to pay teachers or anything else. We can only use it to provide for the infrastructure.
And I know that's, some people don't understand that.
No.
And I was a principal at a smaller school, and I would hear that all the time. We don't need to build anything new. We need to pay our teachers more. And I kept telling them, they're not one and the same.
It's a whole different thing.
They really don't have anything to do with it. We can't not build this and pay them X.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, both statements are true. We do need to continue to keep up with growth, and we do need to pay our people competitively.
There's a couple of us that might agree with you.
Yeah, maybe.
Though I've been in schools. I remember my first teaching contract, which yours was probably significant.
1,000 years before yours, yeah.
Exactly. But I remember leaving and telling the principal, well, I told my wife if it was going to be over $30,000, I'd say yes. He said, hold on, I'm going to change the number.
Let me just add a little bit.
We digress. Okay. When it comes to bonding here, what's the plans? I know we've seen the plans and stuff like that, and we've heard it, but what is the major plans with this upcoming bond issue?
Yeah, this project it's a $32 million bond issue, and that will allow us to take on a big chunk. Along the way, in Missouri, school districts are limited to debt up to 15% of their assessed valuation. So when people say, didn't we just pass a bond issue to add on to a building? Well, yes, we did. We can only borrow up to 15% of our assessed valuation. So we're always kind of pushing that threshold, and that's why in our community, a high growth community, every 2 to 3 years we're asking for another chunk so that we can do another chunk to the high school. So we're calling this project Phase 6. Now, the reality is we've been adding on to Grain Valley High School ever since it was first built in the mid-90s.
Right.
But this is Phase 6 of the modern era of a master plan that we developed with architects about 10 years ago. And we knew that the way that we were going to be able to double the size of our high school over time and update the inside of the high school along the way was in many phases. So we're at Phase 6 on that project. This one, what makes it significant is that it is going to get us a new gymnasium, a new field house gymnasium. It's going to have a seating capacity of a little over 2,000 people, which is pretty significant. We can talk more about how we decided on 2,000, but the current gymnasium is about 1,400 seating. So it's significantly larger than the current gym. We'll have 2 gymnasiums. There will be a new student entrance on that west side of the building, That'll be an attendance area, and that'll also be an entrance where people who come to a basketball game or they come to a musical or other community event using the school, they'll predominantly enter in on that west side of the building. So we're also going to get a new weight room, and we'll do updates to the existing gymnasium, and we'll also do updates to the existing PE and varsity locker rooms.
Yeah. I think what a lot of people don't fully understand is we have a really good problem, and that is constant growth. We're a really growing community, and so constantly you guys are having to plan for that and balance that out, and that's really what this is about.
Yeah, and although the growth has slowed in recent years, it's still, it takes a while. It takes a while to keep up and to do the things that we need to do. And honestly, a little bit of that slowing of growth has been a blessing for us. Because if it hadn't slowed from where it was 15 years ago, I'm not sure where we would be. Because we track what our needs are at all levels, and we've been approaching 90% capacity level in our elementary schools for the last 12 years.
Wow!
But we've been at zero growth K through 5, and that flat rate of growth at the elementary schools has allowed us to, for the last 10 to 12 years, to really do what we said we're going to do at the high school. So we've really been blessed.
A little bit of a blessing, yeah.
Out.
Well, that's it's taken a while, and the issue, and obviously, we both are big time coaches here at Grand Valley.
Right.
I've done football, I've done wrestling.
I do Scholar Bowl, which is
Scholar
way
Bowl.
bigger than either one of those, so I don't know what you...
Absolutely, smarter kids for sure.
Right.
But, people constantly, I know the gymnasium is huge. But to me, the bigger fact is the fact that now we have a second gym. Because we're still in the same gym when they moved the high school over here back in whatever it was, 97 or 96, 97,
right.
Somewhere around there. And that means as the school has grown, the emphasis has been on classroom space, right?
Absolutely.
Because you got to have room to put the kids.
Yes.
Yep.
And one classroom space that usually is the one forgotten the most is PE.
Yep.
And it's not for any fault of their own, but we have so many PE classes going on at one time that a second gym is like a brand new classroom for hundreds of kids each hour.
The largest classroom in the school.
Yes, yeah, really.
It is.
And so, and I know there's other things that go on the bond that aren't as sexy, usually like new AC units.
Hey, that's exciting. That's exciting stuff.
Yeah, no, I've been on top of school districts with the maintenance guy, and he's like, listen, I don't know how much longer this thing's going to last. I'm like, well, the bond doesn't pass till April. So
get that welding tape out because we got to make this work.
They do some creative things up there, and I'm glad you mentioned that about the heating and cooling because, with this bond issue, it's a $32 million bond. We estimate that $28 million of that is needed for the high school project. The other $4 million we'll use for other projects. We have several dozen roof units that are more than 20 years old, spread throughout the school district. And, for so many years, everything we did has been about new construction. But at some point, all that new construction needs to be maintained. And so we're at that point where we have heating and cooling systems that need to be replaced. We have technology infrastructure that we'd like to upgrade with this bond money. We also there's 2 elementary schools that the rubberized floor in the gymnasiums, and we do the same product in all of our gyms. It's a great product, and it has a really good life to it. But 2 of them are now cracking and peeling, and they're not unsafe yet, but we have to be intentional about when and how we get them replaced before it becomes a safety issue. So we want to replace 2 of those floors, and the early childhood, I remember when the current, it's our only play surface that has a padded play surface. And about 12 years ago, we put in these tiles. It was it's recycled tire product, and it was great when it first went down. But now with the seasons and the heating and the cooling, it has a lot of rough edges, and that whole surface on outdoor play area at the Early Childhood Center just needs to all come up, and we just need to pour a solid rubberized sort of flooring material.
So Missouri's weather change might affect something like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does affect
The constant
life.
shifting.
You don't want potholes on your playground.
No, just letting the kids fall off and into the mulch or the little rocks just isn't,
No,
you know.
not good business.
No, then you land on your head, then you end up hosting a podcast with Matt Neville later on in life. But so I know, obviously I've been in Grain Valley my whole life, and so it's really excited to see where that school, especially the high school, has become. My main question is, when you guys revamp, you're going to be so for the people that know about Grain Valley, there's an inner middle school.
Yeah.
That was inside the high school. So those, it's like the middle H there from the Commons right now, which was my middle school.
Which is where you went to middle school, right? Yeah.
There's those little tiny lockers.
Yes.
And those were because they were middle school lockers.
Right.
And almost every high school kid is well over those lockers. But I'm assuming at some point all that area is
Yes.
part of the plan too, right?
Yeah. Anyone who makes their way through our building, if you walk the whole building on the inside, you do feel like you've just walked through two different schools. You have the school of the 90s, and then you have the modern school. So I would say, by comparison, a lot of the math classrooms on that far east part of the building there, a lot of those math classrooms are not new classrooms, but they have a new look to them. So as we've added on to that part of the building, we went in and did kind of a facelift.
Yeah.
So you scrape up the tile, you kind of polish the concrete floor, replace the carpet, the ceiling tiles, you do some paint, take out the old lockers, and a lot of those sections of lockers are replaced with either storage cabinets, or they're replaced with really heavy-duty bench seating and places for kids to charge their phones and hang out, and it is kind of neat to see those hallway spaces used in new and creative ways.
And the kids really do use them. I mean, it's neat to see.
Lockers nowadays, especially at a school like Grain Valley, as big as it is, just is not really needed.
I guess they just stopped using lockers.
Pretty much. Like this generation decided, we don't need it.
I do think it's reinforced a little bit with the AB schedule. And I remember when my kids were in school, wasn't too long ago, my son literally he wouldn't want to hear this, but my son literally had two backpacks. He had his A-day backpack and his B-day backpack. And so you don't have to carry everything every day when you're at high school with the AB schedule.
Right.
You just carry whatever you need for that day. And although there are textbooks available, you don't have to carry your textbooks. You have online access to
your
textbooks.
Chromebook.
So it's not the physical burden that it once was.
Now you mentioned your son, and kind of obviously the bond's coming up, but just a little bit about you. How long have you been in education for?
I have been in education for 30 years. That's
wow.
That doesn't just roll off the tongue. Obviously, I stumbled over that, but yes, 30 years.
I was going to hear 20.
30.
No, this is year 30. That's really strange.
So okay.
Now wait a minute. When I said 20 years, there were a lot of comments about age and.
Because we all knew that was a lie. That was a lie.
You knew it was 70 years.
Yeah.
I see.
So first teaching job ever. When and where?
Actually, my first job in education, I was a paraprofessional at Liberty Middle School.
Oh, wow.
I supervised in-school suspension at Liberty Middle School.
Wow.
That was my first job in education out of college.
And then the first actual teaching job.
Then I taught. That following year, they had 2 openings for social studies, and I was fortunate enough to nab one of those. So I was a 7th grade world history teacher.
Fast forward, you come to Grain Valley as a
elementary principal.
Yep.
I was a principal at Snybar Elementary School in 2007, and I did that for 4 years. And then I got tapped to be an assistant superintendent. Nice. And at that time there were 2 of us, assistant superintendents.
Yeah.
And so I was in charge of anything academic at that time.
Well, and I know that as the kids grow, kind of those areas grow as well. And so now you're over
multiple assistant superintendents.
Multiple assistants, right?
Yes.
And so kind of. We know we got this bond going on. It's important that this community gets out and votes. So where do you see? You said phase 6. I know you can't predict
Sure.
7, 8, 9, 10, but kind of, I think it's important for the community. I know the community I've been a part of for my whole life is to know, okay, what's next?
Where are we
Like,
going?
Where are we going?
I definitely
What's the
want to
master
support you
plan?
now, but what's next?
Yes. Well, and we, a challenge we face now was fairly predictable 10 years ago. We knew that we would get to a point where we would have given so much attention to this building and this renovation, where if somebody doesn't have a kid in the high school, or they don't work they work for us, but they don't work in the high school, it's like, you're giving all this attention to the high school. Where are we at on this? But here we are in year 10. Our community's there's still a lot of enthusiasm around this phase.
Yeah.
After we get this gymnasium done, this might be our best opportunity to take a little bit of a pause. There are still probably 2 to 3 phases left. And you made reference to the original part of the school, and the best marker for folks for the original part of the school is the old sign on the north part of the building.
Yep.
And it says Grain Valley High School now. I don't know if it ever said Grain Valley Middle School or not, but it might just be that they didn't have a sign until
Until it became the high school.
until it became the high school.
Yeah.
There's
But
a picture of the kids on there. There might have been a Green Valley Middle School sign.
it seems like there was some kind of sign there, but I see 2 to 3 more phases. That includes enclosing that part across the front so that you wouldn't see that sign anymore. That exterior wall would become an interior wall. And it would also include renovation on the interior to get all of the school all tied in on that similar theme. But how many years that takes, that's a different story. And the reason I say this might be an opportunity to pause is that, we're at year 12 where we are approaching that, where we're at that like 90% capacity level at the elementary level. And we've been saying for the last 12 years, any day we're going to need another elementary school, any day. And I just cannot imagine that it will be another 5 years before that need arises.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
You mentioned earlier that it seems like we add on to the high school a lot, and we do.
Yep.
But
we need it.
Since we've built the school, we have added 3 more elementaries
Yes.
and 2 new middle schools.
We've built 2 middle schools.
So,
We've
yeah,
built an early childhood center.
So yes, we have added on to the one high school a lot, but
Right.
It's that growing community that we're.
well, and I know, as a business owner, alumni, a parent, a teacher at the school, I think I've hit
Just about all areas.
everything.
Yeah. Listen to him
I
brag.
hear a lot from. It was not
Is that what
bragging.
that is?
That's what that is.
What?
Said, listen to you brag. I'm involved in everything.
Yes. No, it's more about just seeing it from all avenues, because I get a lot from people like, oh man, I wish the gym was bigger. Oh, I wish it was this. Why can't we? The bonding capacity is what it is.
It
Yeah.
is what it is.
I mean, the fact that we can do a $32 million bond now,
It's huge.
20 years ago,
No.
that would have been no.
No way.
because
Yeah.
The argument for us was always, what's going to come first, the people or the
Right.
businesses? Well, it was kind of back and forth. We're starting to see a little bit more businesses pick up. Well, they go, well, so-and-so school got this. Well, that school has an airport in their school district.
In their area,
Oh,
yeah.
this school's, they've got the nicest stuff. That's right. They have 3 casinos inside their school district.
Yes.
Are you saying Iron Kettle doesn't contribute what the casinos do?
$1 brewery.
And a very fancy studio.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, I hope you enjoyed the spread of
The
food.
shrimp
earlier.
buffet, that's right, exactly.
All that stuff.
Yes.
The desserts being ushered up here sooner. But I know, we are adding businesses. The housing market has, I'm not saying plateaued, but it's not going as fast as it
Right.
was. New buildings aren't coming up, but it is nice, to feel this is the first time as a community member, I feel we're finally like you said, taking a breath and kind of catching up a little
Right.
bit.
Yeah.
And honestly, if neighboring communities that have much larger assessed valuations, they can snap their fingers and put out a $100 million bond issue for their community. And if we could have done that 10 years ago, we would have done one bond issue and we'd done the whole thing.
Been done, yep.
It'd have been done. So we're just doing it our way. It's a way that works for us. But the positive thing that happens in our community is because we bring bond issues to our patrons on such a regular basis, people kind of understand how it works. They understand what
Right.
it does, and they understand the limitations of what a bond can do. And it's kind of a forced engagement. It keeps us engaged with our broader community beyond just our parents. And so we're talking lots of groups within the community. And if there are groups out there that haven't heard from us and they would like to hear more about the bond issue in the next few weeks, we'd be happy to come and join one of their meetings.
Yeah.
I don't know who they would be because it seems like we have checked all the boxes.
Every box.
But I'm open to the possibility that there are groups out there that in the
I
community that we don't know about. We'd love to be engaged with.
That's a point, Matt. I think we were the final box.
Right.
You're close.
We're reaching all those other areas now with our viewers.
This is a great venue for us. So I really do appreciate the opportunity to.
Well, we appreciate
and
you coming
obviously,
on.
you have 2 educators in here that work under you, and we, not very often would teachers ask the superintendent to come on a goofy little show that goes out to a few hundred people right now.
When he told me he did, I might have said, "You did what?"
I think I'm going to ask Dr. Welle to come on our podcast.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity, and there's moving forward. We have to think creatively about how we engage our community and
Absolutely.
how we keep them involved. And our people who are no longer have kids in school or maybe have never had kids in school, they still care about what goes on in our schools, and this is a really important part of the recipe of how we engage people in our
Making those
community. So I
connections.
do appreciate this.
It doesn't matter if it's the kid, the parent, the community, the public, whoever it is. We have to, whether it's through teaching with this, we've got to attack them in a lot of different ways to get the information out, whether it's whatever it's about. So I definitely appreciate you coming on. And that's all the time we have today. So thank you, Dr. Welle, for coming on.
Yep.
For Dr. Welle and Mr. Nevels, my name is Jason Fitzmaker, and this is the Fence Post.
Bye.
The Fence Post.